In New York City, a recent report reveals that only 50% of households earn enough to cover basic necessities like housing.
A new report finds many New Yorkers are struggling to afford basic needs as they deal with the rising cost of housing.
The report by the Fund for the City of New York finds half of all city households don't make enough money to meet the minimum cost of living in New York City, and nearly 80% of households are considered housing burden, which means more than 30% of household income is going towards rent. The study finds households across the 5 boroughs need to bring in at least $100,000 a year to afford housing, food, and transportation. The average is now about $70,000.
That's half of New York, not just housing, but also food, healthcare, and transportation.
It's not your imagination, and it's not your fault.
They say if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, but the study proves half of New Yorkers can't make it. They can't afford it. Lisa Manzer with the University of Washington co-wrote this study and says we need to do something fast.
We can raise incomes, or we can take measures to reduce the costs.
And the biggest cost is rent?
Yes.
What I thought immediately was, yikes, we're about to lose all the talent that we have in New York City.
This may be the crux of the 2023 True Cost of Living report. First, take a look at what salaries across New York have done over 23 years. That's the black line that doesn't go up very much. Next, this is how much it costs to live here. It has gone up since 2000. These are the outer boroughs. And above that, this blue line is the cost of living in all of Manhattan. And where's the poverty line? That's the red line, running just below salaries.
It's no wonder residents are starting to leave the city. The United Way of New York City and the Fund for the City of New York shed light on the challenges of making ends meet. It's a compelling story, isn't it? So let's delve into it. Welcome back, everyone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated on all the latest news. A recent report titled The True Cost of Living, sponsored by the United Way of New York City and the Fund for the City of New York, sheds light on the significant challenges that residents face in making ends meet. This report reveals that half of all families in New York City lack sufficient income to cover their basic needs without relying on government assistance, family support, or community help. This study, supported by the United Way of New York City and the Fund for the City of New York, utilizes the New York City True Cost of Living measure. Unlike the federal poverty measure, the NYC TCL provides a more accurate assessment of income adequacy based on family composition and geographic location.
We know the cost of living in New York City has skyrocketed. Pay hikes are not keeping up with inflation. A new study out today says the true cost of living has gotten so high, half of the families in the 5 boroughs do not have enough income to make ends meet. They need some kind of assistance.
In New York City, just 50% of households earn sufficient income to meet basic necessities like housing, food, healthcare, and transportation. Alarmingly, approximately 3 million New Yorkers face challenges in affording nutritious food. For middle-class New Yorkers, childcare expenses have become particularly burdensome. One mother, for instance, reveals that she pays nearly $2,700 monthly for daycare, a staggering expense when considering rent and other essential costs. Subscribe to stay tuned and join the conversation now.
We all know New York City is expensive, but a new report is revealing just how expensive it is. Since 2000, costs have increased across the 5 boroughs by more than 130%, while incomes have only increased 71%. So it's not hard to understand why half of New Yorkers are simply just getting priced out.
According to the report titled The True Cost of Living by the United Way of New York City and the Fund for the City of New York, costs have surged by 131%, while median earnings have only increased by 71%. Shockingly, 36% of households lacked sufficient income for basic needs in 2021, with approximately 3 million New Yorkers struggling to afford healthy food. The report reveals that a family of 4 with 2 children, a preschooler, and a school-age child faces expenses exceeding $150,000 in downtown Manhattan, or over $140,000 in Northwest Brooklyn. This is despite the median annual earnings for such a family citywide being less than $50,000. The report states that New York City families struggling to make ends meet are neither a small nor a marginal group, but rather represent a substantial proportion of households in the state. Income inadequacy has markedly increased since the previous report in 2021, when only 36% of working-age households were struggling to make ends meet. The report illustrates that the true cost of living is highest in Lower Manhattan, estimated at $7,956 a month. Conversely, the Bronx is the least expensive, yet an adult and 2 school-aged children still require close to $5,000 a month to survive. The report outlined several policy recommendations aimed at tackling the urgent issues it brought to light. First and foremost, it suggested endorsing the Just Pay campaign, which calls for higher wages for human service workers, recognizing their invaluable contributions. Additionally, it urged support for the Community Land Act as a means to bolster housing affordability, ensuring that more individuals and families have access to secure housing options. The report also emphasized the need to enhance existing public housing and childcare subsidy programs to provide greater support to those in need. Moreover, it stressed the importance of improving access to preventative health services as a proactive measure to mitigate future healthcare expenses, promoting overall well-being and financial stability. These policy recommendations serve as a blueprint for action to be adopted by local, state, and federal governments. However, the organizers stress that significant changes must also occur in the private sector, as wages have not kept pace with the rising cost of living. Jerome Nathaniel from City Harvest proposed,
"Today, the state can raise the minimum SNAP benefit from $23 to $100. The city can make sure that HRA has enough staff to enroll people in."
As remarked Grace Bonilla, president of United Way NYC, families in New York City are struggling with the overwhelming weight of housing, childcare, and transportation expenses, making it increasingly unsustainable. News reports have shown a significant trend of middle-class families leaving the city, driven by childcare costs that exceed even rental expenses. This underscores the urgent need for comprehensive measures to tackle affordability challenges on various fronts. The report highlights the enduring and widespread issue of economic insecurity, impacting families across every racial and ethnic group and spanning all age demographics throughout the city. However, it identifies certain groups as disproportionately affected due to the systemic effects of structural racism and oppression. According to the findings, 65% of Latin, 58% of Black, and 51% of Asian, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander households encounter challenges in meeting their basic needs. This contrasts starkly with the less than half of U.S.-born households and less than a third of white households facing similar struggles. The increasing cost of living in New York City and stagnant salaries present a significant challenge. Obtaining essentials like food, rent, and other basic needs has become exceedingly difficult for middle-class New Yorkers. Erasmo Nieves, a father residing in Queens and employed as a paralegal, shares his perspective. Despite holding a position as a supervisor, his wife faces the same financial strain. Nieves acknowledges their earnings as decent, but emphasizes their insufficiency in meeting the city's demands.
What are you going to do, not eat? Not pay your rent?
What a conundrum for a middle-class New Yorker to be in. Erasmo is a paralegal, his wife a supervisor.
We make decent salary, but it's still not enough to survive in New York City.
They're considering moving with their 3 kids to Tennessee.
We figured that if working New Yorkers can't make it in New York City, it's not great for everyone else.
Also, here's Darcel. Darcel says she spends almost $2,700 a month on daycare.
I think there needs to be subsidies for like the middle income individuals, to help us be able to afford childcare, like meaningful childcare.
A new survey by the Citizens Budget Commission shows New Yorkers generally rate the quality of life as not good and much worse than in 2017. Only half of more than 6,000 New Yorkers surveyed plan to stay, if they can. New Yorkers say that New York City is an expensive place to live. Salary increases are barely enough and don't really change anything, as the cost of living keeps skyrocketing every time. In conclusion, the findings underscore the urgent need for collective reflection on the future of New York City and the well-being of its residents. Addressing the challenges highlighted in the report is vital for safeguarding the city's diversity and vitality. Let's come together to ensure a more equitable and sustainable future for all New Yorkers. Subscribe to stay informed and join the conversation on how we can create positive change for our city. Together, we can build a stronger, more inclusive community.